The Ed Bernstein Show. Now, here's Ed.
Hey, welcome to our show. Proud to have Scott Frost here. I mean, this is a show that is really going to inspire you. If it doesn't, maybe you're hopeless in getting inspired. But this guy has done it all. As you can see, Scott's in a wheelchair. But he's got an incredible story and an incredible life. And a little bit later on in the show, we're going to talk to two ladies from the Juvenile Justice Impact System. And we're going to talk about how to keep your kids, well, in the straight and narrow. Scott, you have an amazing story. You've told it multiple places around our community. I'm going to just summarize it. Mm-hmm. You were planning to open a business. You got into a horrific motorcycle accident. You became a quadriplegic right as you were signing the lease. But you persevered through the illness, through the rehab, opened a very successful restaurant. You're now a very successful entrepreneur, and it's amazing. But I had some preliminary questions for you, because all of us in life face adversity. Was there something in your childhood that prepared you for this?
That's a great question. I moved around a lot as a child. My father was a military. He was in the Army, 2 tours in Vietnam, tour in Korea, finished his career in NORAD in Colorado Springs. And my parents put me in sports early to keep me busy, and I was constantly the new kid in school, so you learn to make friends really fast. And that combination of learning early on what your body can do, pushing yourself as an athlete, and learning to make friends really fast and be adaptable, I think helped form the mettle that gave me the strength to get through what I got through.
Now, you presently own Husong as well as some other businesses. Were you in the restaurant business prior to opening?
The funny thing is that we had never opened a restaurant in our lives. We'd been in the nightlife business, but we never opened a restaurant.
Nightlife meaning nightclub?
Nightclubs, lounges, and we had never done a restaurant before. My partner is a lawyer by trade, and I'm more of a businessman. I'm not a promoter, marketer. I'm not really a foodie. I've never been in the business, but we had gone down the peninsula of California handing out our cards to all the hot spots in Baja California and see who bought, and all of them wanted to bring their brands to Vegas. So we came back with a fistful of brands, and Husong's Mexican Cantina was one of them, and wanted to open it up, and started talking to MGM Resorts International in March of 2009, and I had my accident in May. And with a blackberry in my neck brace, we continued our discussions, and my partner helping out, and we finished the lease, raised the money for the restaurant, designed the restaurant while I was in the hospital, and we got out. I got out of the hospital, and we were already starting to build. And at the beginning of my rehab, I had made the audacious goal to walk into Husong's and order the first margarita. And through a lot of perseverance and 81 days of physical rehab, I was able to hold my girlfriend's hand and get up from my chair and walk very slowly to the corner of the bar and order the first margarita.
Well, I have a lot of questions based on what you just said, but let me take our viewers back to that time period, because that was a time where a lot of banks were going belly up. The stock market was crashing. We had a huge recession in 2008. Our casinos were, for quite a while, empty. There was no tourism going on. I mean, we had this in 2001. We had it in 2008, and we had it during COVID. So, business-wise, it was not a good opportunity.
No.
To undergo a new business.
No.
Were you an avid motorcycle rider at that time?
I'd grown up on motorcycles, and I have no one to blame but myself. I hadn't been on one in a couple of years, and I'd been bothering a buddy of mine, Cord Smith, who was a big motorcycle enthusiast. He was in my YEO forum, Young Entrepreneurs Organization forum, and I'd been bugging him for years to get on a bike. So it was Mother's Day, May 10th, 2009, and his wife was off with the kids, and my ex was off with the kids, and so I was working on a proposal, and he called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, you want to go motorcycle riding?" And I said, "Sure." It was a beautiful day, and got on the motorcycle. We were 15 minutes into the ride in Madeira Canyon, which is now Inspirata, but back then there was no infrastructure there. They just had the flood retention basins.
Off-road, basically.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
We were in the middle of the desert, and they had built the flood retention basin. It's a big, they're like the size of football fields, and we were zooming back and forth on that. And I went up to go to what I thought was level, and I was going really slow. I was just getting ready to park, and the other side rolled off about 5 feet, and it caught my front tire. And my momentum took me over. I landed right on the front of right on the front tire, and just threw me over the handlebars, right onto the crown of my head, and snapped my head straight back.
And what were your thoughts at that moment? I mean, do you know how severely hurt you were?
You know you're paralyzed right away. And I had hit my head really hard, and it is a very unique feeling when this happens. You're instantly cut off from your body. So I couldn't breathe. I was gasping for air. Nothing moved. Your brain has what they call proprioception. So when you close your eyes, it can sense where the rest of your limbs are. And for me, that proprioception had been cut. So when I closed my eyes, your brain goes back to its earliest memory, which is you being in the womb. So when I closed my eyes, it felt like my arms were across my chest, my knees were drawn up, and I was floating in warm water.
Wow.
It was a crazy sensation. So you close your eyes, you feel this sensation, you open them back up, and then I'm on the ground, my left arm's underneath me, the bike is on top of me. Court comes over and says, "Hey man, are you okay? You hit your head really hard." And I'm like, "I broke my neck. I broke my neck. This is serious. I broke my neck." And he's like, "What? Really? What?" And then I'm like, "I broke my neck. We need, call Life Flight. We need help." And that's when the clock started ticking. The crazy thing is we got a cell signal, and we were able to call 911, but they wouldn't send Life Flight because of the cutbacks in 2009. Oh. They had to confirm the severity of the injury with a terrestrial-based search and rescue unit. And my heart just sank, because I'm like, that's going to take another 20, 30 minutes. I know what it took for us to get in. There's no roads to where we were at. So it became this battle with 911, trying to get them to understand where we were at. They kept asking what our address was. I mean, there was no address. It was right at the rock, left at the sagebrush. There wasn't any landmarkers there. We were down in a basin, and getting someone to understand where we were at was really difficult.
So subsequently, what did they send? The helicopter or the ambulance, or?
So what happened is this mountain bike rider was riding by. He was way off in the distance, and you can imagine how loud you would yell if you were trying to save someone's life. And Court jumped up on the wall that I had fallen off of, and he starts screaming and yelling, "Hey, hey!" And he's jumping up and down, and he gets the guy to come over. And he says, "My friend's had a serious motorcycle accident. They should be sending, you should hear sirens. Can you ride to a street and try to guide these guys in?" And that gentleman rode out and was able to flag a fire truck. First it was Henderson Police. And he jumped down, and he got there, and that gave them a landmark, and he was able to talk with the 911 operator to guide the fire department in. But that took a solid half hour. So now I'm thinking, okay, we got another 20 minutes. I don't think I'm gonna make it. And that's when I realized, for the first time, I thought I was gonna die.
Went to the hospital. You heard, I'm sure, a lot of bad news medically. As you said, you're in the middle of negotiating a lease, a business. And you're thinking, okay, I mean, some people would think, okay, I can't do this now. I can't even walk. What was your situation, by the way? You're quadriplegic means exactly what?
I could not move or feel anything from my shoulders down. My injury was C3, C4, contusion and compression of the spinal cord. Mm-hmm. And I had a broken C3, C4 vertebrae with a disc that was crushed, and it was pressing on the back of my spine, and that's what caused the paralysis.
And there must have been times that you were optimistic, and then you got tested, and you probably got bad news, and it's probably up and down that whole hospital stay.
Well, it was I passed out. I called my kids, and I said goodbye to my kids because I thought I was going to die. I said a prayer and said, God, if you're going to take me quick and make it painless. And my last conscious thought was, I wonder what this is going to feel like. And that was my last conscious thought. And then I woke up in the helicopter, and I was elated that I was alive. I was like, oh my God, because I really thought that this was it. So I started thinking, okay, who has been paralyzed that has been successful, and who do you think of? You think of Christopher Reeves and Superman. That's like the first guy that comes to.
Right.
But then I remembered reading a story about Craig Nielsen. He was the CEO of Ameristar Casinos, and he was quadded in a car accident, and he built his empire from his hospital bed, or from a bed, and took Ameristar Casinos public. And I was like, I got to find somebody who knows Craig Nielsen and figure out exactly how he did this. So I'm trying to engineer how I can keep being a businessman while I'm in the helicopter.
Right from the beginning, you're motivated to, hey, I'm going to beat this and live my life and have a great life. A lot of this you wrote in your book, Living on a Chair, Lessons of Love and Faith After Breaking My Neck. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now, what is the most important thing for somebody who goes through a horrific experience like you did to try to put their life back together?
Number one, you have to realize for everything you can't do, there's something you can do. And most people dwell on making a list of everything they can't do anymore. Mm-hmm. And I came up with a game that I would play in therapy where I called it flipping the coin over. So whenever I thought of something I couldn't do, I'd flip that coin over and come up with something that I could do. And we started writing it down, all the stuff I couldn't do. And then we would counter that with all the stuff I still could do. And when you get done making the list of what you can do is longer than what you can't do. And what do we spend most of our days doing these days? You're on the phone, you're writing emails, you're texting, you're in meetings. That all requires your brain and your personality. And I was the same guy from the shoulders up. And that was the first thing I realized. And I told my business partner, I'm the same guy from the shoulders up. Let's keep moving forward. Let's keep moving forward.
But there must have been some psychological changes that you had. You seem to me, and I'm just speculating, that having gratitude, for the things, for being alive, number one, and for being able to do the things that you could do, overcame a lot of the negatives.
So the people ask this question a lot, and there was a time when the adrenaline wore off, and it's dark at night, and you start getting into an area where if you can imagine being in a hospital room when it's completely dark, you can't hit the call button, the door is shut, and you feel so helpless, and you start start wondering, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I remember distinctly there was a day they came in to do therapy, and they knew me as a guy that we'd get the iPod rocking, and we had a playlist, and I was pushing them to push me as hard as we could, and they came in and they started moving me, and I wasn't feeling it. And what had happened is my daughter had come in, and she was learning to drive. She was 16, and I was teaching her how to drive. And she was really proud of herself because she had driven to the hospital. And she goes, all right, Dad, I'm going to go get a Starbucks. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, I'm never going to be able to jump in a car and just go get a Starbucks again. It was just like, it was something that triggered, and that created the first day where I started to mourn the loss of my physical body. And a psychiatrist or a psychologist came in, and she's like, "You're going to mourn the loss of your physical body like you would mourn the loss of a loved one." And that was really the first time I'd let myself mourn the loss of my physical body.
Well, you've gone from there, from opening up some very successful businesses. We're running out of time. I just need to go through them. Hassan's at the
Hassan's Mexican Cantina at Mandalay Bay.
At Mandalay Bay.
In the shops, Mandalay Place. Then we got Slice of Vegas Pizza Kitchen,
right,
and bar at the shops, Mandalay Place. We got Hassan's Mexican Cantina up in Boca Park, and we're opening up a new Hassan's location at St. Rose and Maryland Parkway on the northwest corner there.
And one of the things that, when you flip that coin, one of the things that you can do is create good food and restaurant experiences. Unbelievable food at Hassan's.
Keep making good friends.
And pizza, and being an inspiration for so many people. Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it, Ed. Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back.
So I was in a really bad car accident, head-on collision. So I immediately thought of Ed. Ed is tenacious. He cares about his clients, and he cares about the results of the case.
Hi, I'm Ed Bernstein. If you've been injured on the job or on the road, call me. Well, if you're wondering what's going on with our youth, there's some good news out there. And with me to talk about it is Dr. Susan Feneck and Lee Jackson from the Juvenile Justice Impact. I always forget the last word.
That's it.
Juvenile Justice Impact.
That's it. That's it.
JJI. Okay. I give up. What is it?
Juvenile Justice Impact is a nonprofit that was just initially just a name and a dream. I knew I wanted to have an impact on our incredible community with children at risk for entering the juvenile justice system. And it was a dream, and now it's a reality, and we're now having some really big opportunities to make some changes in our community.
How does your organization differ from other juvenile justice, court type of programs?
Well, I think the biggest part of it is the fact that we are a sustainable company. So not only do we are very involved with the community, we're very engaged. We believe in sustainability has three pillars, right? It's the people, the profit, and the planet itself. The shirts that we're wearing are actually made out of 100% recycled plastic water bottles. And currently we're making a drink out of cans that's going to be water. And a part of that whole sustainability is really educating our youth to have a better future.
Okay, so who would be your target? How would that,
Our target are our youth, right? Anyone that's between underserved communities of kids that are between the ages of 6 until 18.
Yeah.
Okay. When you say underserved, you're referring to what, minority communities or?
Yes, financially underserved.
Financially
disadvantaged.
Disadvantaged, correct.
So when do you start interacting with these children? How do you keep them out of the juvenile justice system?
We do a lot with our closest partners are the Attorney General's office, Donche King, and the supervising criminal investigator, and mostly Adrian Hunt from the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, but they're entities in a whole. And we come together and we do prevention workshops. Just on January 26th, we did a huge forum in City Hall on human trafficking because a lot of our youth are unfortunately involved in that. And March 23rd, next Saturday, we're having an anti-suicide mental health workshop. We're going to be doing, in April, we do a Earth Day up at the Valley of Fire. We get a whole bunch of people together and
Clean up.
get a caravan of, I think there was about almost over 100 people last year that showed up. So just to teach the kids that there's more out there. And we want to get them more involved in STEAM, science, technology, math, and engineering and the arts. Because studies will show that the more engaged the youth are in those type of programs, the lower chances they have to enter a juvenile justice system.
So is your task to actually try to avoid trafficking by talking to the youth so they're aware of some of the, I guess, manipulations that get them into trafficking?
There's so much that the youth don't know about that even I'm still learning. I mean, they think they might be going on to buy, they think they might be talking to another child or another youth, and it could just be an older man disguising their voice.
Social media.
Social media is a big target for kids because there's so many children that are on social media now, where that wasn't the case when we were kids. And just everything. I mean, the warning signs. I mean, I was at Ulta and they were telling me how even in downtown Summerlin they had some guy that was trying to spray a perfume that can knock you out. I mean, it's just horrific, really, what's out there. So it's basically just to raise a level of awareness for not only the youth, but the parents and our community as a whole to work together.
Is this problem in Las Vegas any different, better, or worse than other cities?
I think the last stats that we heard was we're number 2 when it comes to trafficking, right behind Houston, Texas, right? And the forum that we have, we involve the politicians, we involve the community, we involve the police, so that the youth and their families can hear from all sides of how to prevent from being trafficked.
And what advice would you give to parents regarding that?
You need a safe word, I think, right? That's really important to have a safe word within your family that no one else knows except you and your parents. And to always just be really cautious and and make sure your kids check in. Like when they go out, when they come in, know who your kids are with at all times.
So when you say a safe word, I assume you're referring to when somebody's forcing your child to call a parent, and if they're not
say, "Hey, I'm okay," but use a word that only you and your parents would know.
Right.
Yeah.
And but what advice would you have to give to parents regarding social media, the use of them, and their children using them alone?
Well, I mean, I've had kids that grew up actually with social media, and you have to be able to monitor that, right? Because a lot of with computers and everything, I mean, you can pretty much put a code in there where you can see and make sure that you have their passwords. I'm not afraid to tell my kids, I paid for your phones, so I need your passwords, and make sure that they give you your passwords, right? Until you're 18 or older and you're paying for that, I'm going to have all of your passwords.
And how does your organization work with Metro?
We come together and we do all of our workshops together, all of them, every single one of them. They couldn't have been more. We support each other so much, and they're all now. They're coming out with. They have now the Las Vegas Police Athletic League, and that's also with Danshe and Adrian, and so we're just all coming together. We're all coming together to make a difference. I feel like its strength is in numbers, and they bring in a portion of what needs to be a part of the workshop. I'll bring in, I've got the chef, I got the speakers, I got the sponsors, they've got the kids, we all invite people and just collectively make an impact on our community.
Yeah, they're boots on the ground, right? They see what's going on directly. The police sees what's happening. They have the numbers. I mean, we got reports from Super Bowl and F1 as far as the numbers of trafficking. It was astounding. So
and I know our sheriff, his whole career has been involved in diversity issues and community issues. I mean, he's been great on a lot of these topics involving, really rolling up his sleeves and getting in the community.
Correct.
And you also work with the AG's office, Attorney General's office,
Yes.
there in Ford, and they are busy prosecuting, I guess.
Yeah, and just like she said, I mean, they see directly what's going on, and we, that's how we put together our workshops. What's going to make a difference? What's going to change? What's going to have the highest outcome? And that's what we do.
A lot of the youth that you work with, not from Las Vegas, I mean, you hear about kids running away, coming to Las Vegas. I mean, a lot of them without parental guidance.
I don't think we have that right now, right?
No.
They're mainly from Las Vegas because this is, this is our community. This is where we want to make that impact. Juvenile Justice Impact was born here in Las Vegas, and we want to make sure our youth are taken care of here.
And the majority of this is happening online? It's not happening out on playgrounds or that type of thing?
As far as shopping.
As far as, children being approached?
Of course, it's
everywhere.
Shopping malls, dressing, changing areas in shopping malls. I mean, grocery stores, parks. It's unfortunately playgrounds. It's everywhere, unfortunately.
Right, I mean, it's just the old adage. I mean, when I grew up, your parents told you don't talk to strangers.
Right, right.
It's the same. The rule still applies, I guess.
Yeah, but they're getting more clever, and they're even bringing on other youths that have been in the, unfortunately, a part of the whole program, their program, and they're able to talk other youths into it, right? And that's the tricky part, because when you have people your own age, talking to you and making it seem like it's great and all, it's hard.
So if people want more information regarding your organization, we have the website, I think, listed, and ask questions, I guess. Ask questions of your kids and try to have that open relationship and encourage your children to, like my wife has a book, Secrets Don't Include Mom. So, I mean, that's always a good lesson, right, for kids?
That's right.
Right.
You shouldn't have secrets with your parents. Correct.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much, Lee.
Thank you,
Susan.
Yes.
And Juvenile Justice Impact. Reach out. It's a great organization.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name is George Tice, and I'm a real client of Ed Bernstein. So I was in a really bad car accident, head-on collision. I had to have surgery, and I needed a good attorney. So I immediately thought of Ed. Ed is tenacious, and he knows what he's doing, so he was my best choice. He cares about his clients, and he cares about the results of the case.
The most important decision you can make when hiring a lawyer is choosing the right lawyer for your case. We are that firm.